Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast in this reality. The show designed to challenge everything we've been taught. If you've ever felt there had to be more to life, more to existence, then you're listening to the right podcast. Time to open your mind and dive in. This is the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast.
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Today we have a guest with us, and what makes me laugh every time I have a guest now is I used to do these long-winded dissertations about who my guest was, but I don't do that anymore because it's clearly in the title. You know that today we're talking with a wonderful lady called Cass Henry, and I wish I was using video because she is so well-dressed right now that it seems foolish to waste all of this beauty. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the show, Cass. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
A bit of an intro there. Yeah. I laugh too because we're I'm always doing the idea of trying to build up the suspense of who the guest is and what the show's going to be about. But it's all in the title. You have to put that in for the metadata to get the results, to get the people Googling you and finding you and hunting you down. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know, I was at a business networking meeting for the very first time. I don't think I've ever gone to one. No, I've gone to a few of those, but like years ago. So we went in and I was lured in because it was at one of my favorite restaurants in Ottawa for breakfast, Broadway. Rest in peace, Mama Dina. Your home fries were part of my youth. So I met Cass, and between all of the excitement of the breakfast and the speakers and that guy fainting, I've actually, you know what's funny? I found out about this, and nobody's listening to the show. There's about 5,000 people listening to the show right now. That's our average audience, but none of them are going to tell the story here. That guy, I'm not mentioning any names, and the only people that understand who he is were there. Apparently, he was hitting on Christy at one point. And so what made me laugh about that was I couldn't imagine like sort of shooting your shot and then like later kind of like fainting out of the blue in front of them. Like, I know what happens and everybody does these weird things, but I just like that's like a double whammy embarrassment. And I'm like, ooh, that hurts when you're fainting like that. But I hope he's okay, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The nervous system was like, this is too much. Shut down everything.
And honestly, as I was sitting there, because it was right in front of me, I mean, you were right behind me, you were right there. And I'm like, is this a bit? Like, is this guy doing a bit right now? Because like, he's really committed to this thing.
I thought he died, and I almost started crying. I'm like, oh my God, did he die? Luckily, no, he's fine. He's totally fine.
That's wild, actually. Like, if you think about that, that is our background coming into play.
Right? You thought it was made up, and I thought he died.
I thought it was a bit, and you went like full blown. He's fucking dead. That's hilarious. What kind of? So let's unpack that. What kind of traumas happened in your life that jumped you straight to death?
Right. Well, I just saw like his eyes go to the back of his head. I'm like, oh my God, he's dead. And I'm like, Cass, calm down. And then my adrenaline started happening, and I almost started crying. And I'm like, okay, girl, relax. And then he kind of came back, and I'm like, see, we're fine.
What's interesting too is somebody actually called 911 like right away.
Yeah.
And I thought every single time 911 got called, somebody came out. But apparently they called it off. Like, oh no, he's okay. He's coming back to fruition now or what have you. But I always thought they came out. They didn't come out. That's neither here nor there. Let's talk a little bit about you. From what I understand, aside from your striking style, you are, there she is. You are NLP and hypnosis, and you are definitely more awakened than the average bear. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your journey. How did you go from standard plebeian to being aware of your surroundings / cognitive comprehension of self inside the third?
Yes. As you and I were talking before, I'm like, where did you begin? And, we all have a beginning. And I joke and I said, oh, are we going to go straight back to my mother's womb?
Yeah.
I I struggled with depression, suicidal depression, anxiety, binge eating, alcoholism, abusive relationships. Like I genuinely feel like universe, God gave me all of these cycles to experience and then break so that I could show people how to move through it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be here for a very long time. The depression was like, it was like a dark, heavy cloud that followed me around for like a decade.
Oh yeah.
And I got pregnant by accident when I was 20. And I think that was the greatest gift from God. And in 2018, I had my last rock bottom moment, I'll call it, because I had many of those in the past.
Yeah.
And I went to my office to write goodbye letters to my family because I just didn't see any way through it. I was like, if this is what life is, what is the point? What is the point in living a life that is just full suffering? And in the moment was maybe the first time, or maybe the first time I just remember hearing my intuition speak to me, and it said, create a vision board. I was like, what the heck is that? And so I was like, okay, well, I'm fully desperate at this point. So I looked it up and I was like, oh, I don't feel worthy of any of that stuff, like happiness and money and health and wealth and abundance and all of that. So I just drew some pictures on a piece of paper. And I was like, what the heck do you want me to draw? Because I don't know. I just see darkness and depression and anxiety and suffering. My intuition led me to drawing a picture of like a husband and wife and 3 kids and a pool, and it said like that I was going to be an aspiring leader to curious and growing minds, and that I would have a team of organizers because I have an organizing business as well, that I would make $20,000 consistent months and travel often and make a difference in the world, and to help people find their reason for being and to help them live a happy and fulfilled life. And I'm looking at it and I'm so confused because I'm like, what is this? Like, what is this? And a month later, I found myself at Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within in New York City. And he does something called the Dickens process. And essentially, he leads you to seeing the worst possible case scenario if you continue down the same thinking patterns as you are. Like if you continue down with the same habits and all of that as you are right now, where will you be? And this might be very vivid for some people. So trigger warning
Trigger warning, you plebeians.
trigger warning. In that moment, in the Dickens process, I saw myself hanging from my neck, and all I wanted to do was hug my child, but I couldn't because I chose to take my life. And I realized that depression could no longer have a say in my life, and I couldn't operate that way anymore. And so I broke free from that of my depression. I felt like lifelong depression in that moment at the Tony Robbins, and I made a decision I would never continue to feel that way again. And it was a full body, like I was crying through my pores, and I don't even know how that's possible, but every inch of my body was going through this transformation. And then my intuition said, vision board saved and changed your life. Now you have to go and teach it to the world. And I'm like, oh, what is that? What do you mean? How do I do that? And what does that look like?
Right.
So 2018 was the beginning of my self-help journey, if you will. And ever since then, I've just been breaking through these cycles and attracting in more lessons, abusive relationships, and other cycles to break. And one by one, I break them. I'm like, holy shit, anything is possible. So then I went in to become certified as a master NLP practitioner, a hypnotist. I'm like, you can rewire your brain and you can become and do whatever you freaking want, but you do have to do the work to rewire yourself and your identity and all that. You can't get what you want as being the version of you that you are now. And I'm just genuinely obsessed with helping end suffering and help people live the best life possible.
And that's absolutely amazing. I would add to that a few things. Just the you can't get to sort of where you are with who you are right now, was what you had stated. And why I like that is because it takes who you are right now to make you realize that. So this version of you, to anyone who is still depressed, this version of you is the version that gets you to where you're going. And I, you and I have such a similar story. I mean, even in my description of who I am and what we do, it's a reality realigner, depression remover, and anxiety remover, all through thought. and action and all that sort of stuff. Because the same thing, I lived for years and years and years with depression. I used to say I suffered from depression my whole life. And now it went from suffering to living with depression, and then not really being depressed, which is going to sound strange to anyone who's listening to this show in a linear fashion, because my last episode that went live, this one is going live. Today is, to the listeners, today is Monday.
False. Oh, for the listeners.
Yeah, it's Monday the 31st, Monday, May 31st. So on Wednesday, I uploaded an episode talking about existential burnout. And so it's interesting sort of being on this road. I don't know if you know this, I'm sure you would find something similar. But being on this road and challenging everything that we've ever been taught, and then going down the rabbit holes and seeing things and understanding things and comprehending things, and then burning yourself out from constantly being down there, from constantly being bombarded with how the media works, how social media works, how legacy media works, how people talk to each other, the rabbit holes, the this, the that, the options, all that sort of stuff. So the last episode was about existential burnout, and that is not the same as depression by any means. Depression takes a hold of you inside your core, and it doesn't make any goddamn sense. Existential burnout is it can keep you lethargic, but it is the beginning of the next journey, I've always found. So when you find yourself in a position where, you want to help, you want to do all these things, but you're just so torn in how the world works and how it's operating and how you're supposed to see through it. It's pretty crazy. So do I still have depression? I don't think so. Certainly not on any level that I once did. But it's a real thing, and people will say, and the funny thing about depression is people will defend it. Like, depression is defendable. And what I mean by that is, when you tell them there are ways to get away from the way that they're feeling, the depression itself will argue with the brain and say that they're crazy, they're lying, they don't know what they're talking about, they don't know you well enough to say that the things that what they're saying is true. They say maybe that worked for them, but it's not going to work for you. And this is all the depression, the chemical balance talking inside your head. It's not real, but the story that we tell ourselves, no matter how much we fabricate it, is real to us. So there are so many ways that you can sort of chew into depression mindset and all that sort of stuff. I'm curious, what were some of the ones that you did? Now, you mentioned chewing apart generational traumas and going after your triggers one by one, like shitty relationships and all that sort of stuff. Now, are you dating right now?
I am single. I'm running 2 businesses and writing a book and being a coach for my son's football team and all of that. I'm opening myself to receiving healthy, safe, long-lasting, amazing love, and I'm patient.
Good.
And,
Sorry. The reason I asked that is because when one wakes up to this, I don't know, it's different for everybody. I would assume the life is different for everyone. But once you stop seeing things the way they were delivered, the world itself starts making more sense. And so when you start dating in this mindset and mentality, there's so many things that maybe at one point you would have put up with that you don't put up with now, which is why the majority of people, that's why I asked, is the majority of people I know in this position are single, because there are so many new variations and so many new, I want to say stipulations, not like I'm going to hold you to this to make our dating work. It's I am going to hold myself accountable to believing in myself, to loving myself, and to making sure that the person standing next to me values me as much as I value myself.
Yeah. Having standards and not settling and not ignoring red flags and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And the biggest one is not rushing head on into what we're so familiar with. Like, I know that, I'm interested in this girl because I've got the butterflies and I've got the anxiety and I've got this and I've got that.
Which is the opposite of what you should feel anyways.
1,000%.
Like, yeah. Okay, if I'm feeling this, then it is definitely not it. Yeah, I think humans are so we'll bring it back to the depression question. And this ties in perfectly because humans are meaning making machines. And now I'm very, very slow to attach a meaning to a connection that I have with a human until my intuition tells me what it means.
Right.
Is this connection supposed to be loving and intimate? Am I supposed to get a lesson from this person? Am I meant to be in their story for a specific reason? So I wait until my intuition tells me exactly the purpose of the connection without saying, oh my God, we're soulmates, which is what I would have done in the past. And then full on ignore all red flags. And now we're in this enmeshment and codependency. And now I'm being controlled, but I'm letting it happen because I'm desperate for love and belonging.
It's funny how so many people have the exact same story. And we don't allow ourselves to be like, no, no, it's just unique to me. Like one of my favorite lines ever is Dane Cook from way back in the day. You don't know, I can't break up with him. You don't know what it's like. My CDs are in his truck. Like it's just one of the funniest lines because we say all these things about the person, about defending the person, but it's really about our own insecurities.
Yeah, and our need for love and belonging and acceptance and that's okay. And once you do this work and you realize your limiting beliefs and your limitations that have been placed on you since you were a child and you've had them and they've been running the show for so long, you can have compassion for yourself and you can also have the courage to break free from it. I like to lean on faith and universe and I live my life through a state of surrendering to the flow of life and I know that everything I want and everything is meant to be and everything is flowing perfectly the way it's meant to, so I won't miss out on anything. So
Yeah.
even if I say no to this connection, I'm not without because I know what's meant for me will come my way. And
Yeah.
it
And
takes courage and it takes courage and it takes, you have to do the work. Because I mean, I was suicidal depressed before. I didn't just wake up here. I've done the work every single day to get to this state of thinking.
yeah. Yeah, I like that. It's funny too because sort of part of that quote unquote conspiracies, and people want to tell you that you're crazy for thinking the way that you think, and
Mhm.
all you can say is, "Bro, 5, 6 years ago, I thought just like you, so I know how you think." Right? And so when you're breaking out of a depression, when you're breaking out of that, and you're trying to help somebody who's clearly in a depression, it's like I know how you think. I don't know you specifically, but I know how you think. I know what goes on with this, and we aren't allowed in societal norms to um, essentially make assumptions. And what I mean by that is um, social media, anything like that. If you put anything out there, if you post anything, state anything, say anything, there is a piece of you in the back of your mind that will say, hey, don't say that, don't do that. Or this person will say that. Or if you say that, they can chirp you based on this. Or if you say that, it's not inclusive, no, no, no. And I look at all that and I think to myself, this is all part and parcel with the system itself. This is all very much designed for us to be aware of what people may or may not say. And it's designed to prevent us from saying what we may or may not say, what we may or may not want to say. And that to me is hilarious because we see something, we interpret something, and we internalize something, and then we tell ourselves a story about that something. Meanwhile, if you want to say anything, do anything, be anything, you absolutely can. It's simply a matter of how you choose to talk to yourself with regards to what it is that you're saying. So that also parlays into an NLP thing. Like neurolinguistic pathways is to me one of the most amazing things in the world. Do you remember way back in the day? I mean, even before I'd heard the term NLP, I heard the PUA, pickup artist.
No, I never heard that.
So it's a thing. There's this guy that he was teaching. I was talking about it with another client as well. The pickup artist. I'm drawing a blank on it, but I can sort of see it. It was all about how to get women and how to do things to be cerebral and get women. Right. This was back in. It's got to be early 2000s, 2003, 4, 5. And back then, there was no. I don't know. It was such a different time that like now everything is like equal rights, and if you put a book out like that, it's sexist and racist, and how can you trick women? And like it's just crazy to think right now that so many people are being judged today with the same rules that took place 20 years ago. It doesn't work like that. But so this book comes out, and a buddy of mine reads it, and he says to me, he goes, "Bro, you demonstrate all of these characteristics of the pickup artist." And I laughed at that because I'm like, I'm just being me. I'm just chatting with people. He goes, "Yeah, but all of these subtleties, these are the things that you do when you're talking to people." And I said, "Yeah, that's probably just trauma. I said, that's just me. Like, I was taught at a very young age to read the room so well,
Yeah.
to keep myself safe, because there was at no point was I ever truly safe in any environment. I was always under attack from my parents, from my mother, from whatever it was. I was never in a safe spot. And so I had to keep my fucking mouth shut and understand the best way for me to navigate the situation. Um, totally forget where I was going with that because I jumped four different trains of thought. Oh yeah, back to NLP. Um, NLP is something that has progressed out from um, from everything. Uh, it's one of those things, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking to sort of the audience right now too, but NLP is one of those things that is inside your brain. The way your brain works, how your neural pathways connect. Is like what we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast. You know, she sees one thing and she panics, and I see another thing, and I think he's doing a bit, but we're staring at the same thing. That was our neural pathways that connected that. So it's your history, it's your past, it's your it's how you express and experience what you're experiencing that is going to dictate what you're experiencing, which is a very weird and interesting conundrum.
Yeah.
My question to you is, when somebody's having a bad time, or when they want something more, or I would assume even with regards to the hypnosis, you know, you've probably helped people quit smoking or lose weight and that sort of thing. So what's one or two or three or something that you want to talk about when it comes to major shifts in brain works, and how the, I guess, what you do with NLP that is beneficial to the individual? And why I'm asking is primarily, most people will say that won't work on me. That's woo woo juju. That's wishy washy. My brain is my brain, and you can't get in there and you can't mess around with it. So what's your take on that?
Well, we'll use that example of the guy passing out.
Right.
So we all have, ever since we're about 7 years old, we've taken in everything from our environment and taken it as truth. So our teachers, the things that we listen to on the TV, our parents, everything that they tell us is true about us or the world around us, we're like, okay, cool, that's true. So we have this lens through which we see the world, and then we go and collect evidence to support that to be true for our entire life. Mind you, all of this is happening unconsciously.
Mm.
The people that are born in an environment where they have to really maybe walk on eggshells and pay attention to the surroundings even more because they're not in a safe situation, myself included, you pay attention to the sound of the doorknob. You pay attention to people's body language and their tone of voice and the way that their shoulders are positioned and their eyebrows, so that you know exactly, okay, this means that person is safe to talk to right now. Oh, that means no go. Okay. You just really get good at knowing what the body language and the tone of voice and all of those things mean. And so you, I'm sure, are very good at predicting things. I say that I'm a psychic. I joke about it. I'm not, but I just know things and I don't know how I know them. So call it whatever you want. So bringing it back to that guy who passed out, we'll call that a triggered event, okay? A trigger happened. So you either see something, hear something, feel something, sense something, and hearing it can be your own internal voice. Like, people can set their own selves off, or maybe you hear something in an environment. So for the sake of this, you and I both saw a guy pass out, okay?
Yeah.
That's the triggered event. We both said something to ourselves. You, because of a previous experience that happened with that guy, you're like, oh my God, is this a bit?
Yeah.
For me, I'm like, oh my God, did he die? Then immediately after you said something to yourself, you felt something and I felt something.
Right.
I got a rush of adrenaline, and I put myself into a panic state, almost to the point that I almost started crying. The guy wasn't dead, and it's what I said to myself that put me into that state of feeling. And from there, my body went into physiological sensations. I almost started freaking out and having a panic attack until I saw the other trigger. His eyes opened. But my behavior almost went into panic attack and crying, and yours almost went into inappropriate laughter, if you will. Not inappropriate laughter, but if someone actually died, someone might look at you and be like, "What the fuck? Why is he laughing?" So in any situation, there's always a trigger, and then immediately after a trigger, you say something to yourself. Immediately after you say something to yourself, you have an emotion, and then from that emotion is where you choose a behavior. Now, all of this is happening unconsciously. People don't actually realize that it's happening. So what people try and do is they try and change the behavior. So if they want to lose weight, then maybe they'll exercise and eat healthier. They try and change their emotion. Well, I don't want to be depressed, so I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. Whatever I have to do to tell myself I'm happy. Or they try and change the trigger. They'll try and control the environment or people around them, but God forbid they try and, change themselves. What really has to happen is the one thing that a lot of people don't actually change, and that's their internal dialogue, the story that they're telling themselves about the situation, the meaning that they're creating around it. And underneath all of that is actually a belief that we hold about ourselves. And it usually alludes to that we're not good enough or we're not worthy or capable of whatever it is that we're trying to do. So.
1,000%. 1,000%.
It's when you said that person might say, well, you don't know me. You're right. I don't know what you're saying to yourself that's caused it or what beliefs you have, but it's all a strategy. We all run a strategy to get to a certain state, and we can change it at any point.
Yeah, 1,000%. One of the things with all of my clients, the number one question that I get from every single one of my clients when they come to me, if they want to start speaking, if they want to start podcasting, if they want to start, running a coaching business, whatever it is they want to do, the number one question, I'm sure you probably already know what I'm about to say, is why would anyone listen to me? And so this is imposter syndrome, and imposter syndrome was what you were just talking about there. Is one of the biggest consistencies in any single person that's deciding to do something new. And so I always say, and the funny thing too is if you don't have imposter syndrome, like you might be a lunatic, because if you just waltz into something and be like, I can fucking do anything I want to do because I'm the mayor of Albuquerque, right? Like it doesn't make any sense to me. But so the world is frozen, and like you said earlier too, you said nobody wants to change themselves. The greatest gift that we've got in this world is the ability to change ourselves. Yet one of the very most popular quotes out there is, oh, that guy's a dick. He'll always be a dick. A leopard can't change his spots, which is the worst because we say that about people. And so we paint that brush on them, but subsequently we paint that brush on ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest misconceptions of this entire reality. Alan Watts, one of my all-time favorite philosophers, threw a quote out there that is absolutely perfect. It says, you're not born into this world, you're born out of this world. And so for you, the whole purpose of life is to change your spots. You are not the same person you were in high school. In grade 1, you're a different person you are in grade 12, right? Grade 1 was a fantastic grade. You learned stuff, you sat in a desk, you made some friends, it was wonderful. If at grade 12 you decided to go back to grade 1 and sit in that exact same desk, you don't fit in the desk, and you don't care about the lessons. Meanwhile, they were super important back then. So that's what's happening now. We are changing our spots, yet we're told that we can't because we want to point and criticize and say these things. And so when you said people don't want to change, that's massive because they're so busy looking outward that they don't realize that every single thing that they're seeing everywhere is a contrast to them. For you to find out who you are, you must know who you are not. And that is the number one thing with regards to people. But do you give people the benefit of the doubt? Sure, for a minute. Do you give them chance after chance? Absolutely not. Because you and I could be amazing together, but there's somebody over there that cut me off or whatever that I'll never see eye to eye with, that when I see them, my blood boils, right? They're not going to like me. I'm not going to like them, whatever it is. So you can't take their word on who I am because we have a different energy. Another amazing quote that I love too is you can judge a person by how they treat the wait staff. And I firmly believe that to be true. Like if you're going to treat your waiter like a piece of shit, you're an idiot. It doesn't matter how nice you are to me. If you want something from me, you're going to be nice. But if you just naturally are a certain way, that's the thing. You see it. So when you have the opportunity to be like, look, I'm going to change myself. I'm going to work on me. I'm going to do the work. The whole game changes. And again, normally it takes major pain. Like you had talked about in the beginning of the show, you had talked about how you got here through darkness. And I had said too, I'm not sure if I said it on the show, but every single light worker I've ever met has gotten here through darkness, through pain, through addiction, through suicidal thoughts, what have you, whatever it is. Just the understanding that, or the feeling that I'm inadequate, I'm not good enough. Why would anyone listen to me? All of that sort of stuff. Those inadequacies, those patterns, those inherent pre-programmed sensations and feelings are what cause us to do the drinking, to do the drugs, to do the self-loathing. And I firmly believe that they exist in you so that you can work through them and become the dynamic person you're meant to become. Therefore, every single thing that has happened to you in the past never did happen to you. It happened for you. All of the worst things that you ever did to anybody or that were ever done to you are usually the things that we hold in our memory. None of the great things, all of the amazing things that you've done for other people, you don't hold up here, right? And one thing that I've noticed with my show is I'll say stuff and people from my high school will listen to the show and I'll say, oh, I was this, that, and the other thing in high school. And they'll say to me things like, I don't remember you that way. I remember you being very loud, very funny, very outgoing, very kind. But I always remember myself like being a piece of shit, being negative, being this, being that, like being insecure, being whatever the hell it was. Like I just don't have the same memories. And so you realize that so many people were going through so many things. And the greatest realization that you can possibly have is nobody's really paying too much attention to you because they're also concerned about themselves.
Yeah.
That you can almost virtually do kind of whatever you want. As long as, again, Don Miguel Ruiz, the 4 agreements, as long as you 100% operate with integrity, all of your actions will be rewarded. Right. So that's a really neat thing. It's a fascinating thing to be like, I'm a giant piece of shit right now. I'm hooked on drugs. I'm drinking too much. I'm not kind to my parents. I'm not kind to women. I'm not kind. I can change all that. And the only thing that's going to make you change all that is the pain of who you're becoming. And so I say back to the worst thing you ever did or the worst thing that was ever done to you. That's what you remember. And because you remember it, it makes you want to be a better version of yourself. Right. Yeah. There are psychopaths out there that run around stabbing people and they don't care. Right. That's not what's changing them. So to everyone who suffered an indecency to themselves, to everyone who's done something to somebody else, remember that you can't be a prisoner of your past, that you can take that lesson and do something with it and create the life that you want to create. Sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent.
There's a really cool thing. So 2 parts of this. One, I do think that people are, like, not everybody, but there are many people out there that are trying to change. So they're listening to the podcast and they're reading the books and maybe they're doing the reps in the gym. But the thing is that that's surface level work. If you don't actually do the rewiring of your brain and your identity and clearing up stuff from your past, that is the actual work. And I think that also society, some of it has said, well, some people are just whoever are addicts, they'll be addicts forever. If you're depressed, you'll be depressed forever. It's in your genetic makeup. It's genetic. It's in your brain chemistry. And to that, I say, fuck that.
Yep.
And a second part to that is, yes, learn the lessons from past experiences, but we use something called timeline technique or quantum time technique, where we get up above the present moment and we go back to an event to look at it from a different point of view, like where we are now, to get the lessons from a different perspective. Let's say you go into your mom's office and you're really, really excited. Let's say you're 2 years old and you run into your mom's office and you're like, Mom, look at this drawing that I did. And she's like, get out, I'm on the phone.
She kicks like a football, yeah. Down the stairs you roll, crying, scared, broken arm.
Maybe you take that in and you create a meaning around, my mom doesn't love me. Right. And now you take that, you collect evidence for your entire life to say, I'm not lovable. And now your whole life, even though people have loved you, you don't feel lovable because you made that belief back then because you needed to create meaning so that you never felt that way again. So you're like, okay, if I'm not loved by my mom, I'm not going to try and get love from her because I don't want to feel that. Again, all unconscious. I had someone, she's 35, she just finished working with me. She did the quantum time technique, went back to a moment when she was little, and she's like, oh my gosh, I was loved all along. And she got the lessons from that event. And when people say, I was just a little kid, it had nothing to do with me, everything in their life changes. But so some people are doing the work for sure. They think they're doing the work, but it's not really the work. Because a lot of self-sabotage and procrastination is still happening. And when that happens, you know you're not doing the actual deep work.
You're
that
so
happen.
very articulate. I'm sure people have said that to you before, but yeah, the way you speak is it's a breath of fresh air.
Thank you.
Um, the the thing about doing the self work, the thing about shadow work is, which is what you're referring to, the self work, the shadow work, diving deep into what you're doing, is the shadow will defend itself. So when you say you're not doing the work, or you could be doing a little bit differently, the shadow will say, "What are you talking about? We're definitely doing the work." Meanwhile, the shadow is still running the show,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, we're doing the work, but nothing's happening. So we might as well just go get that burrito.
Yeah. It's so sneaky.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's
And
like camouflage, so many different masks. Like, oh, start Monday. Oh, it's just one piece of candy, or you
yeah.
can skip the day, or you're tired. You earned the rest.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're being your best friend. But the question, when you're trying to do something more, when you're trying to break generational curses, when you're trying to step into it, that's when the voices become the loudest. And it's not like you have to do it overnight, because this is your journey, is the entirety of life. I'm still overweight, and I'm fully aware of my eating habits, but food is so delicious. And one of the greatest things about me, like we were talking about you and the drinking, and sort of how you got here, my audience knows full well that I was a maniac, when I was in my younger years doing sales coaching, sales training. It was very much Wolf of Wall Street. It was very much, how much can you do? And in that very environment, why it worked out well for me was because it didn't matter. If we closed 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 on the day, it didn't matter, because tomorrow was Wednesday and you had to put your pants back on and do it again. Right? There was no great, oh, good, wonderful. You did that. Wonderful, fantastic. What about tomorrow? What about this? What about that? And so, for my own psychosis and my own shadow back in the day, never being good enough, sales was the job to be in, because it doesn't matter how fucking amazing you are, it's not good enough, because there's always tomorrow. Even though that's amazing, you're lighting up numbers, you're doing everything. My OCD brain and my ADHD brain, it didn't matter if I did $1 million, 10 million, $20 million. It was never enough. So that's when you come back to it and you say, okay, I really need to sort of focus in on myself. So, so for me, doing that and pushing that challenge, I quit everything in 2017. I quit drinking. I quit drugs. I quit smoking cigarettes. I quit fast women, because back then that was the thing. Like your status was who was around you, but the women that were around you were a certain type of women, because they wanted the party, they wanted the money, they wanted the drugs, like they wanted all this stuff. And so it's like all of this had to go. So I quit everything all in the same spot. And since then, I've dabbled with drinking, I've dabbled with drugs, like just to sort of challenge myself and push myself. But none of that stuff has a hold on me anymore. And so, except for one, I will fully admit that I went to try to have a cigarette just to see what it felt like. And I loved it so much that I'm like, I'm going to finish this cigarette. I took one puff. I'm like, get it away from me. That was, of all the things, that was the one that was like, this one's going to be a challenge. We're out of here. It was pretty wild, actually. But I know I can do that. So I've witnessed that, and I've had that experience, and I understand what it takes to make that challenge, to make that work. So my body right now is not optimal. I'm 6'2". I think at the last weigh in 295 pounds, which is substantial. I carry it well. Yes, correct. Oh, I'm fantastic. But, functionally, it doesn't matter what I look like. Functionally, it's not working for me. I'm a little bit too lethargic. I'm not moving properly. I need to get going on a lot of different things. And so that's a huge mental shift, because being beautiful was a full-time job when we were in our 20s, when we were in our teens and 20s. And I don't mean like being beautiful, like wearing all the fanciest, and I'm a hoity-toity. I mean, how we thought that we were showing up for the world was our version of beauty. It was what was the most important. So vanity and that sort of thing. When you get past the idea that other people are looking at you, thinking about you, and doing these things, you start working for yourself. And the biggest punch in the tickler is saying, hey man, I'm not trying to do anything for anybody else. I no longer need to appease anyone. It's time for me to sit with me, talk to me, and treat myself the way I've always wanted to be treated.
Yeah.
And again, this harkens back to my last episode where I said, I've built an entire career off the saying, help enough people achieve their dreams, and your dreams in turn will come true. treat everybody the way you wish that you were treated as a kid. But most importantly, treat yourself that way as well. Talk to yourself that way. Understand that in every conversation that you have inside your head, one of you is speaking, one of you is listening, and one of you is observing. Who's who and why is that the case? You know, what's your take on that? The internal self dialogue and self talk.
Oh, it's everything. And I just finished listening to the Surrender Experiment for the second time. I love that book so much in The Untethered Soul. When I first read The Untethered Soul and it said,
Salinger?
yes, who?
Untethered Soul. Salinger?
Singer.
Singer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I got two people missed
and
up.
he's
JD
like,
Salinger and Singer.
yeah. He's like, it says, you are not the voice, you're the one hearing the voice. And that was one of those like paradigm shifting moments. I'm like, what does that mean? And so someone in my group coaching program today, it's called Worthy and Free. I help women really change their internal state and reprogram their brain and so on and so forth. And she was like, I'm like, do you have a pattern that do you have a block right now that you're trying to get past? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, great. What is it? She's like, well, I got this sales job and I'm just not doing it. I'm like, okay, so you probably just think you're procrastinating, right? And she's like, yeah, I just feel like I'm stuck. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, that's not actually the case. It's not procrastination. It's a disguise. So I said, what are all the things that you're telling yourself right now as to why you're not doing it? I'm like, okay, those are the disguises of the unconscious mind trying to keep you in a state of familiarity. She's like, okay, Cass, I realize I don't really want it, but what if I do actually want the job? I'm like, okay, so when you decided that you wanted to do sales, did it come from a point of I'm really excited, like this feels like a download, like an intuitive moment of, oh, this is my purpose? Or did it come from a state of scarcity, like I need money, so I have to go find a job? She's like, it came from a space of in need and lack and scarcity. I'm like, okay, great. So do you think that you want this job or not? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, great. So back to your question, she didn't know which voice to trust in her head. Sometimes you have to wait to receive the answer, and you also have to get familiar with what it feels like in your body, what it sounds like in your mind, if it's really abrupt or if it's really loud. And when you start to identify the difference between the ego mind and your intuitive mind, then you can start to make more grounded choices based off of what it's saying. But it takes time to get to know yourself and the voices in your head.
Have you incorporated your higher self mind?
Oh, it's just I love it so much. I'm like, okay, I'll go in the bathtub and I'll just sit there and I'm like, I'm not leaving until, we have a little bit of a conversation. And I'll just sit back and I'm fully out of my body and it's just like voices having conversations with each other and I'm just the observer of all of it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's in our face so much. The Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, ego, id, higher self, me, myself, and I. It's just constant. There are three things, and inside your body right now, you've got your brain, your heart, brain, and your gut brain. And your gut brain is the one that does the majority of the work. Your heart is the intuition. It's why during COVID they told you to stay 6 feet away from each other because it's your energy was shared. It's such a massive tool. Your heart isn't like a blood pump. It's a massive tool. And your brain, basically all that thing does is makes your beard grow and your fingernails grow. It's doing a damn good job right now. But it's not the thinky part. That's your gut, which is why all of the food that we can eat is such trash. Because if you're disconnected from self, if you're disconnected from your gut brain, you've lost your natural and innate intuition. You believe them. There's a huge Hollywood movie that was massive in this. It's called Don't Look Up. And when you're not connected to your gut, they'll just tell you anything and you'll believe it. And you'll even mock and ridicule anyone who sees something different because of the food you eat. This was told in the Snow White fairy tale. She was asleep, right? Because the Wicked Witch gave her an apple. There are so many analogies inside the Snow White story about humanity, how we're asleep and how what we're looking for will wake us up and help us carry on through yada, yada. But again, like even back then, it comes down to the food. The food knocked her out. And right now, so many people are currently walking through this world asleep because of this stuff. And so, yeah. So, I mean, I'm fascinated by that. Now, I'm also fascinated by your bath. That sounds creepy. What I mean is the tell me more about this bath. No, the conversations. Like, do you resolve problems in that
I
scenario?
So what I do, I wait for the answer. I'll go like if I'm having any state of uncertainty, and usually if you're having like a state of uncertainty, the harder you try and look for the answer, the less likely it is rooted in your own truth. And so I fully surrender. I just let go and I receive the answer. The reason I go sit in my bath and I actually let the water wash over me like a waterfall, and I'll just sit there in silence and I'll just wait. Sometimes I'll do yoga, I'll go to a yoga class, but oftentimes it's just in the shower, maybe on a walk, and it's really just unplugging from everything. And I don't look or search for the answer. It has to come to me. It can't. I used to outsource my intuition for everything. I would go and ask everyone, does this look good on me? What should I do? Should I quit my job? Should I text this
Interesting.
person back? What should I say? What should I do? Where should I go? I outsourced it all. And now I don't outsource stuff. I just wait for the answer to come through. And if there's a little bit of a battle, I know that that's not the answer quite yet. And the biggest thing is you got to have patience. And the as soon as you try and search for the answer, you're not going to find it. So and it's not going to be the truth of what you're meant to receive.
Yeah, that's the same thing. You're looking for love, you're never going to find it. It just reminds me of sort of what I was talking about earlier. Like when I talk about my weight now, it doesn't bother me, but I know that what we've overcome, we can overcome again, and the stages that we take will come to us. And like what you had just said, you don't force the answer because that's another form of personal deception, right?
Mhm.
So if you're not forcing the answer, then how are you getting the answer? Well, I'm not deducing, I'm not sitting here, I'm not thinking about it. But reality comes, and like you said, go for a walk and that sort of stuff. When I'm stuck, I'm the same way. I'll hit the gym, and it'll just pop. Something will just sort of come out and be like, "Oh, there it is. That's what I was waiting for. That's the
Yeah.
piece."
Yeah. Even if
Um,
like even if like let's say I go into the shower and I sit in the bath and the answer doesn't come to me and I'm like, "Hey, I kind of got to go now. Like time's a ticking. I got to move on with my life." I'll maybe go to the gym or whichever and I'll be listening to a podcast and maybe one single word will pop out. Or I'll be driving along the road and one single word will pop out on a license plate or on a sign and I know that that's my answer. So I don't search for it. I always surrender and I constantly let go to let in, but I know the difference in the feeling if I sought it out, like I'm seeking for it and I'm like obsessed, like, need to know the answer, need to know the answer, then I know that's not actually the answer. But if it just comes to me like a punch in the face, is like, that's undeniable.
yeah,
There's
you
the
can.
truth.
So, what's your take on society as a whole? I know that there's a growing community that I thought I was crazy at first, but that wants to go completely off grid. Get pool our cash, get 50 to 1,000 acres if we can, and just start building and start creating and start having a proper community. Do you think that this world is ready for that, or that they could have it, or do you have interest in that, or do you have a take on energetically how you fit into the world around you?
So I've been going through moments of what the heck, like, what is the world? It's as I'm starting to uncover truths about things, I'm starting to realize I don't actually know anything about anything now that I'm seeing things.
Yeah,
Like in terms of like the food and the stuff we drink and what we wear on our bodies, just everything. I'm having a moment, which I'm sure you've gone through as well, of holy shit, what is actually real and what is safe and good for us. And like, I feel like I can't even go to the grocery store and eat anything in there, and I can't even drink the tap water, and I can't put anything in or on or around my body. And I'm like, what do I do? So I've had moments where I'm like, we're screwed.
yeah,
And so I go in and out of that. And to your point, or to your point of your last episode, that can really be earth shattering and very ungrounding, and it feels like massive turbulence. And it's like you want to dip your toe in the water to check the temperature, and maybe next time you'll put your whole foot, and maybe next time your whole leg, and you can be a witness to more and more truth, but not all of it at once because that it's just too much. So to answer your question, I'm slowly getting there to the point that I don't want anything.
yeah,
I want to learn about the mind and the brain, and I want to take what I learn and I want to help others get out of a state of suffering and just live with less. I've had a professional home organizing business for 10 years and I'm transitioning out of it. I've hired someone to work in the business. Now I just run it so I can do my coaching full time. And something that I realize is it's all connected, the mind, the internal, external, but really stuff. So many people have so much stuff to just fill a void
Right.
because they feel unworthy, inadequate, unlovable, not enough. And once you actually get to your truth, you realize I don't need any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't even need a big house. And I really just want to live by the water and listen to the birds and bathe in the ocean and just live happily ever after. So it's I think the more people that do wake up and realize that, then it's shifted and moving for sure. I don't know to what speed, but I'm definitely way over on the side of like screw the system that we've been sold into, like the Monday to Friday and the 9 to 5s and the eating of this food and the timelines of all that stuff. And I'm just like, I'm not subscribing to that anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Weekends are the biggest scam in the world because they take your natural momentum away. Right. If you're like, oh, it's Saturday, so I'm going to take a break. Well, if you're not finished, you don't take a break. Like I've burned through a full year without taking a break. And they say, don't do that. That's not healthy. Like I understand that. You can take your little breaks. But if your whole life is built around rev up Monday or Monday sucks, Tuesday, Wednesday, you get some work done. Thursday, you're already starting to clock out, and Friday, you don't give a shit. Right. You're not going to get any momentum in life. And so that's like there's a whole definition of that the weekend was designed that way intentionally.
and to be stressed from Monday to Friday and unhappy, and now only on the weekends am I able to take a mini break from my stressed out life? Like, no thanks.
Yeah, no, it's trash for sure. Do you find yourself having a decent group around you? Are you, and this is one of the things that I'm still building is a healthy network of like-minded people,
Yeah.
which is again what the alliance is. The Mental Mastery Alliance is good coaches. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I haven't stated it, but all of Cass's links will be in the show notes here. So to check out her profile and all that sort of stuff, she'll be available. I'm also so impressed. I might add you to the alliance if you're interested in something like that. We can talk off camera.
Yeah,
But
amazing.
but yeah,
I am slowly because I'm slowly also building a community of like-minded people. And sorry, but I mean, I say no negative Nellies just because it's if you're coming and hanging out, you know where our mind is. And it's okay, if you're having a minute and you just want to rant for a second, but then we're turning the page and move the F on. Like we're not staying in a state of victim mindset. If you do the work, you come in my programs. But when we're hanging out, we're having elevated conversations. We're having deep conversations. We're having fun and not gossiping about the people down the street and complaining about our jobs or whatever it is. We're having like
can't do
we're
that.
living life and we're enjoying lives and we're lifting each other up. And it's like, if you want to tell me that you had a massive launch in your business, I want to celebrate you more than maybe you celebrate yourself. Like bringing together like-minded people who just genuinely love each other and love life and really just want to see each other thrive and be happy and fulfilled. Those are my kind of people.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful of who you let in. And not everyone will make the cut on the first round, and it's not like anyone is better than the other person, but I'm very, very I am very careful of who I let in into my energetic field now because I know how sensitive I am, and I'm okay with that. So
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time by myself, and I have a lot of friends that live all throughout the world. Because I go to a lot of events and I meet a lot of amazing people at these events, like Tony Robbins, and I have a coach, James Wedmore, and all of my NLP coaches. Like, I love them so much. It's just too bad they don't live right here in Ottawa. But getting to be with like-minded people is very soul filling, and I just want more of that.
Yeah. There's something to be said about not living in the same town as your coaches. None of my clients live anywhere near me because, and a lot of the stuff that we do is over the phone. And the reason I say that is because for a long time, my face, this beautiful mug, wasn't visible anywhere. I never put it out anywhere. And then that was primarily because I knew that to my clients, they would hear my voice, they would hear my message, they would hear my words. and they would create a story around who I was that would help them achieve what they were doing even more. And so for your coaches, they have a more impactful position with you because you've created a story of who they might be in person, who they might be socially, that sort of thing. So there's something to be said for sure about not, I mean, there's that old saying too, like never meet your heroes, for example, right? So I mean, there is magic to that because you can create more, do more, and achieve more with your own personal mindset and ideology behind who the person is that you might be working with
That's
versus the
true.
truth and reality of them.
Yeah, because maybe you put them on a pedestal and you think they dress a certain way or talk a certain way or walk a certain way. I mean, I show up a lot on the internet just being myself, so people see a lot of who I am, but you don't really know who I am unless you actually live with me. And even then, like, do you really know who I am? Maybe not.
No.
And I really like that you said that because then I think that one of the best things that I ever did for myself and for other people was to take people off the pedestal,
Yeah.
and I really just put them up there because of my own insecurities. But
Of
being able to
course.
connect with human to human is one of the best things that we can do for ourselves and for those people too. So we're not disconnecting them from connection either.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I think about, like-minded people, and getting out there and being more social with people because I mean, especially in Ottawa, there's a really decent network of people out there that are pushing the envelope, doing the homesteading thing, doing the energetic release thing and all that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
I think, as we're having this conversation that, I sit there and I think, we don't help, not you and I don't, but like we as in our own, I guess, energetic community. Um, we don't help each other as much as we could. And like you said, I want to hear your wins. I want to celebrate you. Even in our own communities, like if you and I got together with a group of people and I was like, fuck yes, good for you, it'd feel weird. I know that it'd feel weird for me if somebody was like praising me for something I did. And I'm like, no, this is something that I was supposed to do anyway. So why would you praise me? But I also know in the same breath, that that's my trauma speaking. And I also know that it would be so amazing to have a network of supportive people because my entire life, even throughout my greatest successes, I still have family members that tell me to get a real job. I still, and I say to them now, especially in 2026, I'm like, what does a real job look like to you?
Yes,
You know,
tell me more. What is your
yeah.
definition?
Do you want me to go sit and give away my life in a desk where now there is no more guaranteed anything? There's no more guaranteed pension. There's no more guaranteed severance. If you get fired, you get fired. You're going to give your life away to create something for somebody else because you didn't have the balls to do it yourself. So, it's just a funny thing. If people don't ask questions, they just make assumptions. And that is how the world theoretically works on a much deeper level. So you have to get past your own assumptions of who you are and what you're capable of. And so the funny thing that I say about this too is that every single person out there is doing something great. For you to have the idea that you want to do something, you got that idea from seeing somebody else do it. And then for you to say that you can't do it is such a foolish slap in the face, but it is 100% the programming.
Hmm.
So if you're programmed to believe that you can't do it, well, guess what? You're not going to do it. The only difference between you and somebody doing it is they decided that they were going to change their programming, which again is where the NLP comes in. So I don't know. Like I know that we're on a bit of a tight schedule now because we've got about 16 minutes left before you have to. Well, you have to be at 4:30 or hard ending it. But we'll start into the wrap up here. If you could give really good advice to somebody who mimicked your younger self, what would you say to a person in the audience right now, assuming that they have, let's say, self-worth issues, depression-ish, not deep, but depression-ish issues, um, and maybe, just maybe, they're having a terrible relationship with a guy they just can't let go of?
Mm,
How do you talk to that girl?
I would say, well, to the girl, you already know the answer. I know you know the answer. You're just afraid of making the wrong choice. But you can't make a wrong choice when it's rooted in when it's from your intuition. And so if you need something to lean on, I leaned on God and universe to leave my abusive relationship, and I really, really needed that to have the courage to leave. For the girl who's depressed and really struggling, I would say this is just one chapter of your whole big, beautiful story. And this is the preparation to prepare you for who you're meant to be. And the fact that you are feeling these big emotions now only means that your life is meant to be something extremely meaningful. And so to use it as information, in emotions are just information anyways. We don't want to numb them out. We don't want to run away from them. We don't want to fear them. We want to look them in the face and say, "Hey, what are you trying to show me about me?" Because it's information. And when you stop and pause, that's the moment where a lot of people run or numb out, is this space after you say, "Hey, what are you trying to show me?" Because that space is uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar, it's unknown, but that is where your answers lie, is the space and the silence in between. That is the key that everybody is searching for anyways. So the sooner you're able to just almost handcuff yourself to the chair and say, "I'm not moving until I receive the answer," and then just let go, the sooner you can move on with your life and experience happiness and gratitude and joy and abundance and all the beauty that the world has to offer, because it is available to everybody.
I love it. I love that. I love that. And ladies and gentlemen, again, her information will be in the show liner notes because I know that there are a lot of audience members that have reached out to me and asked me certain questions, but would probably prefer to work with a female. And this is one of those things where, if you've ever had the idea or the inkling or the desire to do something more for yourself, Cass seems to be somebody who's got a few answers and a few specifics, and they can help.
Yeah.
Even if, do you do consults? Like, would you do like a 50-minute meet and
I
greet? How you
do.
doing?
Yeah. CassHenry.com/call is where you can book a free consultation for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so you said you've been doing this since 2018. You got 8 years. You got 8 years in the front facing aspect of this. My follow-up question to this is, how long do you think you've been aware that something's off? Like, do you remember, and I know that we're rolling into a tidy up here, but do you remember, like for me, I know that I first started questioning the world around me when they hit the World Trade Center. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And so that was a huge pivotal moment for me. But everybody has their one moment that's like, wait a minute, this isn't right. Do you know what yours was?
Okay, well, I felt so on a personal level, I always felt like I was different. So I always felt like the black sheep, like I didn't, it's not like I didn't belong here. Maybe I felt like I was different, but not in a bad way.
Yeah, just the people didn't make any sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And so
Yeah.
for me, I feel like it was more recent. I mean, when the Epstein files came out and stuff like that, that was really a lot for me to take in. But I found this Instagram account recently talking about all of the food, like all of the stuff that's in the food that we eat. And I had a moment of, oh my God, what is real? And like, is it really that, like, the higher ups is really just doing everything they can to control us and to kill us? And the whole like vaccination thing and all that, that was just crazy. But I think for me, it was more recent. And I was addicted to chocolate bars and candy and energy drinks and all of that stuff. And I only recently decided to do a hard cutoff. Oh, I think too, it was the McDonald's thing when my friend told me about what's in McDonald's meat.
There's
And
people in McDonald's.
and when she told me that there's human meat in McDonald's, I'm like, no. She's like, yes. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, okay, I will never eat McDonald's again, ever in my life. So it's been over a year that I haven't touched McDonald's. And I don't want to eat any fast food, actually, for that matter, because I honestly don't know what I can trust anymore. So that was definitely, I think the McDonald's thing was really the thing for me that I was like, oh my God, for real? Yeah, definitely the McDonald's.
I think you and I are going to have some fun moving forward. There's a few things I can show you that are just going to be like, what the fuck?
Oh, it's like I need to I need to dip one more toe in the cold water and then one more toe in the cold water. I'm not ready for the full leg yet.
Yeah, so I'm at the point right now in my journey where it's like I
Your
fully
whole
understand.
body's in. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're probably your whole body's probably thrown in the lake, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
I've been deep
I
diving.
will get there. Yeah.
I'm currently I'm 9 feet under looking for pearls. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. I'm like,
Uh,
I'm slow at it, but I will get there. Just
oh man, I mean every single thing from chemtrails to the poison to the food to the the false flags, fake Pearl Harbor, fake. I mean Tuskegee experiments were wild too, where they openly gave everyone syphilis. We've got the Epstein files out right now. We've got all the adrenochrome files and all that sort of stuff. And we had a show that hit like 280,000 downloads, and the networks wiped us out. So it's not like they took the show down, the episode. They wiped out. They blew up the entire show. And I thought, wow, you really don't have any control over that because we were talking about adrenochrome, Tom Hanks, and all that sort of stuff. And it was one of those things where it's like I could connect some dots and we could put some stuff together, but they wiped the whole show out. And so it was at that point that I'm like, okay, well, this show now needs to go over to my own self-hosting so that nobody has the ability to wipe my show out.
mm.
But yeah, like
I do like honestly, a part of me does still get afraid of what if I say the wrong thing and someone misinterprets it or misunderstands what I'm trying to say and then they come attack the messenger. So to bring it all the way full loop to the very beginning of like censoring ourselves, I do have a part of me that is still a little afraid, but I'm learning to be like it doesn't matter because we're not even talking about full picture anyways. We're hopping from one thing to the other. And at the end of the day, it doesn't, people are going to pull out bits and pieces that they want just to attack if they want to attack, and it doesn't matter.
that's why I
So,
have this right here.
Disclaimer. If you're going to soundbite any of this podcast, you must soundbite it in its entirety for consistency and context.
And that legal disclaimer says if you take any piece of this show, you have to take the whole show.
mm,
And so that legal disclaimer is actually pretty profound. I'm not sure. Did you hear it when I hit the button?
I
Did
heard
you
it.
hear? Yeah, okay. I know the audience heard it. They hear it a lot because I have to hit that button a lot because I say a lot of clips of things. But yeah, another thing too, when it comes to that struggle, and I'll hurry this up for you, you don't have to worry about that because I've been canceled. I've had the world come at me. I've had everybody hate on me. I've been bombarded with bullshit. You can only get canceled once. And what it teaches you is that your audience, if people are talking shit about you, they're drawing attention to you, and your audience will find you from that attention. My account didn't. My account grew the most on my social media during COVID when there was a banner on my account saying this account often shares false information, follow at own risk, et cetera, et cetera. So my account blew up. They're like, oh shit, this guy's talking truth. They're trying to silence him. I need to know what he has to say. So we grew by like 10,000 in that brief little period, and they stuck around. So you're the most important thing that you can do is speak your truth.
Yeah, and it's coming out now where I'm just like I've because we're patternistic human beings. We make connections, especially people who grew up in a household that wasn't very safe.
Yeah.
You learn to connect the dots. And I'm connecting a lot of dots and I'm just like, "Oh my God, people need to know the truth, especially about their minds and their emotions and what it's all leading to and oh boy. Yeah, so I'm gonna get people not happy with what I say, but maybe because they are, they want to stay in the zone of familiarity of suffering, but it doesn't have to be that way. So it feels freeing to get to a point where it's like, it doesn't matter if you don't like what I say. It at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Move on with your life, and I'll move on too.
And remember too in your message when you're delivering it that there are people on this planet who are NPCs, right? So these people are designed to try to pull you back down and designed to try to shut you up. They're designed to use their ignorance, quote unquote, to keep you quiet. And so if you say something and you get attacked, understand that you're on the right path because you are. And I can tell right out the gate that you are only operating with the utmost integrity. And when you do that, you've got righteousness on your side. That doesn't mean that you, in the name of God, can go and punch kids in the face. But it does mean that if you're going to be your truest self, anyone who wants to attack you will only ever show you their truest self. And to any observer of that, all they're going to see is your energy versus the attack from their energy. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't, and it's going to explain itself. So don't hesitate to be yourself. Obviously, speak from the heart, speak with integrity, and your audience will find you. So every single person that hates you is gonna move out of the way. And when they move, they create a vacuum. 2 or 3 more people show up. And it's really cool.
People will hate you too for saying, have a great day. And they'll be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, now that I know that you can hate me for being happy and hate me for whatever, I'm like, I'm good. Thank you.
I guess I have a disposition because of my size that people don't typically tend to chirp me. But if they do, I get such a kick out of it. I'm like, you've got some balls on you. I appreciate that. It does make me laugh.
This has been great. Great. As you said, I'm sure we could talk forever.
I did say that. Yes, absolutely. We should wrap this up because we now have 4 minutes before you have to get onto your next appointment. And I loved this. So I will wrap this up and you will be back on the show.
Thank you so much.
Well, I'd like to have you back on the show. I shouldn't tell you how you're going to.
I would love it.
Fantastic. Okay. Then on that wonderful note, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with this in the infamous words of Red Green. If the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Stay connected with us directly through the mentalmasteryalliance.com. You can also join the discussion on Instagram at instagram.com/the Mental Mastery Alliance. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag TMMA or tagging us at the Mental Mastery Alliance. To have your voice heard on the show, leave a voicemail or send a text to 647-338-1265. Long distance charges may apply. If you love us, leave us a review. If you hate us, you spend your time in weird ways, but also leave a review. Every review on iTunes tickles the algorithm, helping us grow. Until next time, unity over division. This concludes the most surreal portion of your day.
You got it, Pontiac.